In this video, we're going to be doing a mod of the F-150 here. So sit back and I'll show you what we're going to do. Alright, so in the shop here we have my 2023 F-150 XLT model Sport Package. You notice it's a different truck from some of my other videos. I actually traded in my old 2012. She was getting a little long in the tooth, and I upgraded to a 2023. So one of the problems with F-150s in general is they don't have a lot of leaf springage going on here, okay? So when you're towing heavy stuff that has a decent amount of tongue weight, you get quite a bit of rear end sag. So we're going to do something today to fix that. And how we're going to do that is with this guy here, the Roadactive Suspension. So you can kind of see how it works here. It basically is like a leaf spring helper. So it clamps on up, or it clamps on up top here and down here, and you can adjust the tension on this bad boy to give you different spring rates. So I got they have a standard duty and a heavy duty package. I got the HD package because it was on sale. So we're gonna go ahead and install these bad boys today. So there's obviously one for each side. Pop her open here so you can see. Comes with like some bump stops and things like that. So it's supposed to install in about half hour to 45 minutes. So we'll see how that goes with me filming here. But so basically, what does that do for you? Well, it's supposed to act as a combination of like an airbag and like a sway bar. Okay, so it's supposed to keep the rear end more grounded. You get less sag, less like porpoising as you're pulling a heavy load back there, and it's not supposed to make the truck ride any different. So that's one of the big benefits of it, whereas like airbags and things like that make the truck ride stiffer. This is supposed to not make a lick of difference as far as your normal everyday driving. So we're going to test that. So we're going to run a couple of experiments here. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and grab a tape measure and see what the ride height is unloaded here, right? So I'm going to measure from the ground up to the tip of the fender there and see what the ride height is. So let me grab the tape measure and we'll show you what that is. Alright, so here we are. We're on the ground, running right through the center of my wheel there and up to the top of the fender, and we've got basically 40 7/8. Okay, so you guys got to remember that because I sure as heck won't. I've got the attention span of a gnat sometimes. Ooh, squirrel. Just kidding. But anyways, yeah, these videos help me remember stuff like that. So 40 7/8 is what we got unloaded here, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to back the truck out, and we're going to hook it up to that trailer there and see what the sag is with just the unloaded trailer. So stay tuned and we'll get that set up. All right, pardon the road noise here. I'm out by a busy road here that goes 55 and people like to go 95. But anyways, all right, so I'm set up here. I've got my tape measure right at the top of the hitch here. So we're going to measure how much that hitch drops here as I am putting the weight on it with the unloaded trailer. So sit there and watch and you can tell me what it is. All right, take you off the tripod here and zoom you in here. So, whoops, looks like about 1.25 inches. Okay, let's set you back on the tripod here, and I'm going to drive my tractor on now. I'll show you here, tractor that's sitting over there, and we'll see how much more it drops once we get that tractor on there. So. Let me set you up here. I gotta get the ramps ready and everything, and I'll bring you back once we're bringing the tractor on, so stay tuned. All right, tractor is ready to drive on, so I'm gonna go ahead and drive it on and we'll see how much more she drops. Basically, call it 7 inches. Right, so we got 7 inches of total drop. Now, disclaimer, Would I normally load the tractor like this all the way to the front? No, I wouldn't. I would have it slightly back, you know, back more so we didn't have quite so much tongue weight. But there may be scenarios where I do have a tractor combination set up on here that might load it this way. So this is kind of a worst case scenario. That tractor weighs about 4,000 pounds based on my estimations. I've never actually had it weighed, but I know one side has fluid in the tires, the other side doesn't. So that's about where we're at. All right, so about 7 inches of total drop. Okay, so that's quite a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and strap the tractor down, and now we're gonna go for a little bit of a ride this way just to see how it feels in comparison. You can see just looking at the truck there, that back end squatted quite a bit. I'll put a before and after picture in there just so you guys can see. So stay tuned while I get it strapped down and we'll go for a little ride. All right, guys, we've got the tractor all strapped down. We are ready to go. We're in tow haul mode. So right away I can feel that the back end is tilted down, right? So let's just see what this feels like as we're driving here. So here we go. Again, I would not normally load a tractor like this that far forward, but we're doing this for testing purposes. Let this car go by. All right, here we go. Alright, she's pulling pretty good. This road's pretty smooth, but we'll see what happens when we hit a few bumps here, see if we feel any porpoising going on. Yeah, I do feel the sway, you know, bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down. Just go for a little while more here. We'll go ahead and take a turn up here, see how that feels. I mean, again, clearly I have the front overloaded on this, so this is kind of a worst case scenario here. I wouldn't normally pull it like this, but there are times where I have pulled 10,000 pounds with this truck. So let's just see how this goes here. All right, yep, feeling a bit of roll. This road is a little more bouncy, so we'll see how that feels. But yeah, so right away, like, yeah, this road's bouncy and I'm hitting potholes and stuff and I'm feeling it porpoise back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, so I can see what I'm up against here. All right, so I think I've got enough of a feel here. It's just been a minute or so, but I'm gonna go ahead and drive back to the shop and start installing this bad boy. So we will see you once we get her back in the shop. All right, first step is to get this bad boy off the ground. So if you don't have a lift, which most of us don't, you're gonna need a good sturdy jack and a couple set of jack stands here, right? So you're gonna start by lifting up, jacking up the rear differential so the tires are off the ground. Now, you're going to have to get those tires way off the ground, because what you're doing is you're taking the jack stands and putting them under the front leaf spring eyelet. That way, once you lower the differential, the jack under the differential, the suspension sags all the way down. The leaf springs are completely unsprung and hung all the way down. So I had to go up, about 10 inches or so to get it to that point here. So that's how that needs to be done. Then once you've got the jack stands under there, you want to lower your jack so that it's not touching the differential anymore. Leave it so it's about, you know, a ½ inch to an inch away, just in case, you know, something bad happens here, just for a little bit of extra insurance. But that's where we are so far. So now we're going to go ahead and start reading through the instructions and see what the next step is. So stay tuned. Suppose I should show you what's all included in the kit here. So once you open the box, basically you have two of your active road suspension, or Roadactive Suspension units here. Since I had the HD package, there's 2 bump stops, which I believe, well, I guess we'll get into that in a minute here. Some hardware to go along with that, and an instruction booklet. And it looks like this instruction booklet covers everything from the F-150 to 250, 350s, to the GMCs, 25, 3500s, Dodge 15 through 3500, and everything in between there. So yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. So the first thing we need to do is install our bump stops. So we're going to flip over to page 6 here. All right, so I got to remove my old bump stops. Looks like we've got a 13 or 14 millimeter there. I believe mine is a 13 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how that goes. So stay tuned 1 second. All right, so there's my bump stop. I checked it, it's a 13 millimeter. I've got an extension on my impact. I'm gonna go ahead up through the middle here and see if I can pop this bad boy off. I just got this truck not that long ago, so it's probably not too rusty or anything, so see what happens. No problem. Whoop, dropped my hardware there. Okay, we'll take us back up to the bench and see what we gotta do next, so hold on one second. All right, so got our bump stop removed, back up on the workbench. Now it's time to install the spacer here. So 2 different length bolts in here. It says one is supposed to be for the regular F-150, one is supposed to be for the tremor. So I have the regular. Doesn't say which is which, so I'm assuming mine is going to be the shorter one. Because it says to take your hex bolt and drop it in the hex slot through there like that, right? And then, let's see, you're going to take your original bolt here, through here, and it goes back up through the frame. So you see there's an arrow that points to wheel here, and then in the instructions it says this notch is supposed to be on the inside of the frame. So as we're looking at it here, it's going to go boop, like that. And when I have that shorter bolt, that's this guy, through here, come on, get back in your hex hole there, and I put it through the bump stop. You can see plenty of thread sticking out through there to get one of those nuts on there. So I'm assuming it's the short one since it doesn't really tell you. So that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to try that out. So the way I'm reading this is you keep that through there. Now I go over and I bolt this up to the frame. Well, it's going to be this way, like that. Okay. So let's get set up on the tripod and give it a try and see how that looks. So give me a moment. All right. Let's get this bad boy bolted up and see what happens here. All right. So again, notch goes on the inside of the frame rail. And we've got to find our existing nut up in the frame there. And we will take our impact. All right, we're good and tight. Okay, now I believe we take our bump stop and bolt it back on there. So let me go grab that quick and I'll bring you right back. 1 second. All right, let's see how this goes. So the instructions mentioned it was a 14 millimeter, but this is actually a 15 millimeter, just for reference. It doesn't say to use a deep socket, but I'm assuming I'm going to have to actually use a deep socket based on how this is laid out here. So that's what I'm going to use. So we're going to put our bump stop back in here. So you can see it does twist a little bit, so try to make it angled so that it's about centered with the axle. And I'm going to use our yeah, that worked out. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my impact down there and slowly work that bad boy up. Now there's no torque specs or anything listed for either of these, so I'm just going to give her a couple of ugga-duggas and call her good. So looks like we're pretty well centered on the axle there, or call it perpendicular to the axle. And I might just grab my ratchet there just to make sure, but I think I'm in pretty good shape. Oh, I'm gonna need an extendo. Good thing I kept it handy. Yeah, we're tight as can be. Okay, so that step should be done. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side. You don't need to see that because it's going to be the exact same thing. I'll bring you back when it's time to actually install on the leaf spring here, so stay tuned. All right, here we are. So truth be told, I went ahead and I installed the passenger side off camera just so I got a feel for how it all went together. So I think I got it. So now we'll walk over to the other side and I'll show you guys how to do it. So let's meander over. So things you're gonna need. Obviously, you're gonna need your other active road suspension or Roadactive suspension. You're gonna need a 14 millimeter socket. You're gonna need a vice grips. You're gonna need a 10 millimeter Allen wrench. The instructions say you're gonna need the 14 millimeter or 12 millimeter socket, but it's actually a 19 millimeter I found. I also used another 14 millimeter with a ratcheting end on the closed end. And then you're supposed to have two 24 millimeter open-end wrenches. I don't have those. You got to work with what you got, so I have adjustable wrenches. So that's what I'm going to need. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up in here. So the first step is going to be to set this unit in place. So basically, this curved end goes up there over that curved end, set in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and set you up on the tripod, and we'll get to work here. So give me 1 minute. All right, here we go. So it's going to be tough to film all of this, but I'll do my best. So like I said, we take our unit and we set the curved end up over the mount on the leaf spring there. You want to set it pretty much right in the middle. It fits right on there, really easy, so no point in showing that, but you do need to sit in the middle. All right, so next step. You need to get this lengthened so that it can fall below here, because that's where it mounts. So what's going on here, change the camera angle a little bit. The threaded rod is threaded into the coil spring for shipping purposes, so you need to, by hand, thread that out. So up here, this is where the vice grips comes into play. So I found that it was easy to slightly clamp. Jeebers. Hard to do with the camera in the way, but lightly clamp our vice grips on here. And then you can start, going the wrong way, turning this out by hand. So hopefully you can see that here. I'm gonna have to rearrange it, but as I'm turning this out, you can see we're getting more and more length here. That's allowing this to slide forward. So you just need to do it enough so that this will slide down and underneath there once you take that bolt out. So I'm gonna go ahead and go a little bit more here. Be easier if that shock wasn't in the way and I could show you guys, but we are where we are. That might be enough. Okay, so this bolt here is just on there. It's a nylock, but it was just on there hand tight. So you have a bolt. I guess you guys can't see that, can you? Get you rearranged over here. All right. So you have a bolt, a spacer, and a nylock basically. So this has to swing down. Yep, I'm gonna have to come back a little bit more. The bolt and the spacer are gonna ride right in this notch right here. So we gotta come back down a little bit more. It's a little bit clunky, but once you get used to what you're doing, it's actually not too bad. A little more yet. This does turn out really easy by hand, so it's not really a big deal. All right, so that should be enough. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get our bolt and spacer working through there. Go through the other side, get our nylock on there. So this is where our 10 millimeter Allen and our 19 millimeter socket come into play. So now is when you go ahead and tighten this bad boy up. Let's see, do I have it going the right way? I do. You just want to tighten it so that the nylock gets all the way to this frame here, and then it squeezes on the spacer. Pushing that down. Just about there. Give her a little bit of a tweak. There, we're tight. Okay, that's in place. Now, you want to make sure that everything is pretty much centered here. Okay, so you want to make sure, because this does have a little bit of play here, so centered in between, right around this bracket. When this tightens up, it's going to be up here. So you're going to center it around the U-bolt here, center around the U-bolt here, and then up there, where it hooks over the mount, you want that centered up there as well. So you want to get that all in place here. Then we can move on to the next step. So let me go ahead and get myself situated here, and then I'll bring you right back. Stay tuned. All right, here's where we're at. I got that centered up there. I know it doesn't look like it from this angle, but I can assure you it's centered. I've got us centered right here, and I've got us pretty much centered right there. So get my light back over here so you guys can see what's going on. But basically now it's time to start tightening this up, and it's going to be lengthening that spring, okay, pushing out on that spring. So you need to, I kept my vice grip on up there. You can use your 24 millimeter wrench or socket or whatever you want to use. I'm going to use the vice grips because it's easier to keep it on up there. And then you want to take your 14 millimeter here and you want to tighten, so clockwise, in order to lengthen that spring there. So set you back up on the tripod here, and we'll show you that process. So now, here's what happens. In the kit, you have these two spacers. The white one is a 1 millimeter, and the black one is a 2 millimeter. So if you want to add 25% additional strength to your suspension here, you use the 1 millimeter. And as you're tightening or loosening these up here, you try to fit it in between the coils of the spring here. Hopefully you guys can see that on camera right here. Okay, so as I'm tightening this up, those coils are going to start spreading apart, and I got to try to fit the spacer here in here. So white one is for 25%, black one is for 40%. I'm going to go with the black for the 40%, and we'll see how it is. So that's what I did on the other side first. And the good news is if you don't like it, you can always, it's really easy at this point now to readjust that. All you have to do is jack the truck up and, you know, readjust this sort of thing. So we're going to go ahead and start cranking on this bad boy. You need the vice grips up there because as you're doing this, it's going to want to spin up on that end. So this way, it's not going to spin. So this takes quite a bit of doing to get this going here. So we'll just keep on working. Still want to make sure of your spacing here. Yep, see I'm starting to drift a little bit. So now I'm just going to tap that over a little bit. Not the right tool for the job, but it's what I got available right now. So that's what I'm using. And then I use my pry bar here to make sure I'm keeping the proper spacing up here. There. That's good. And actually on the other side, I actually left my pry bar in to make sure that I maintain the same spacing. All right, so let's keep this going. That was a good knuckle cracker. So let's go ahead and check with our 1 millimeter here. Yeah, we're not even, I mean, it's just starting to open up now. I'm just starting to see a little bit of daylight, so it's going to take a little bit here, so bear with me. Whoop. Let's check again. Almost. All right, we're going to keep going. So again, though, I'm using the black one, so it's going to have to go quite a bit more. Make sure my spacing is where I want it to be all the way around still. Yep, looking good. All right. Make sure that's good up there. Yep, that's good. I mean, it really is kind of an easy thing to set up. It's just a little bit cumbersome, but once you get through the first one, the second one goes a lot faster. All right, let's see where we're at here. Okay, 1 millimeter fits in there now. 2, not quite. So also what I've noticed too is this spring doesn't open up uniformly. It kind of curves a little bit. So on the other side, the sides open up more than the top. So I just I checked it in multiple places here to see. So yep, on the sides here we're getting close. On the top it's tighter. So what I did on the other side is I checked multiple openings, and towards the bottom it was looser than towards the top. So I'm going to kind of go by feel that way. And again, I said the outside was looser than the top, so I used the top as my gauge. So I got to about, it was a loose fit, you know, down here, but once I got up to the top, it was a little bit tighter. So that's what I'm using as my gauge here. We're getting there. Sides are just about open. Okay, it's getting tight now. Getting a lot of tension on there. Okay, I can get it in the sides now. I'm gonna go over to the other side of the camera here so I can reach a little easier, but I can get it in the sides now. Top is still tight, so we just gotta go a couple turns more here, and I think we're gonna get it. Oh, you know what's happening here? Should have mentioned that. So I don't know if you can see that. I'll turn the camera a little bit. I've taken enough tension out that I'm actually hitting my jam nuts up here. So I'm gonna want to go ahead and loosen those up some more. There. Okay. Oh, darn it. All right. Now we should be back in business. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay. Still kind of tight up there. Wrong way. Okay. Drop my spacer in there, so I guess I'm getting enough clearance, okay? So those are getting pretty loose. Well, let me see here. That's actually feeling about how the other side was. I might have it a little bit too loose now. So I'm gonna go ahead and crank her back a little bit, just kind of going by feel. And I think I'm still a little bit looser than I was on the other side. All right, let's see how that is. Now I'm a little too tight, so we'll just come back this way 2 turns or 2 pulls. Let's see how that is. Oh, still a little tight. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call that good. All right, so that's set where we want it. Now what we want to do is move it up here a little bit. Okay, so our jam nuts here, you're going to take your first one, come all the way down here, and jam it hard against that spring, okay? So let's look at my vice grips up there. It's hard to do this with the camera in the way, but we'll do the best we can. Yep, see, now I'm turning my vice grips, so now's the part where you get on here with your 2 wrenches, okay? It's a little cumbersome, but let's see here. Okay, that's pretty tight. Now we go ahead and we spin this bad boy down, and we lock these 2 together. And we should be where we want to be. Okay, I think we're tight. All right, now all I have to do is get our tires back on and lower her down, and we're ready for some testing. So let me get those tires back on and I'll bring you back. Stay tuned. All right, we're back on the ground. So hard to tell anything just at first glance, but let's go ahead and take our measurement, unloaded measurement, and see what we look at here, what we look like here. So we were at 40 7/8. I just double checked the video here. So we're same side as before, center of the tire on the concrete, and we are just a little over 42, like 42 1/8. So I'm no math whiz, but I'd say that's higher. So yeah, we're basically about 2 inches higher. little over 2 inches higher, just resting fully unloaded. All right, so let's pull outside and do some testing out there and see what we look like. So give me a minute. All right, we're outside, so let's just go for a little test ride unloaded and see how this thing feels without anything in there, because it's not supposed to sacrifice ride quality at all. So let's just see if it feels stiff or anything else. I didn't film a before video on that because this is my daily driver, so I know what it feels like, you know. So here we are. Now we got 2 inches more in the back. Maybe I feel it up a little bit. I can't really tell sitting up here in the front. You know, it's going to be negligible in the front here. Maybe if I was sitting all the way in the back, I'd feel it. Maybe if I was in the back seat, I'd feel it. But as of right now, no difference. So this road's pretty smooth. We're hitting a few bumps, but it's not really feeling any different. Not feeling stiff. Still absorbing the bumps the same way as it was, I think. So let's go ahead and take this corner up here. So now I do feel a little bit of a difference there. Like, I don't feel the truck wanting to the body roll as much going around that corner. Okay, going down this bumpy road here. I mean, it's pretty bumpy, pretty beat, pretty old. Drive down this road pretty much every day. Doesn't really feel any different. I wouldn't say it feels any stiffer. Wouldn't say it feels any better, but it doesn't feel any stiffer. So again, that's a benefit of this system over some of the other ones, like, you know, airbags and some other spring helpers and things like that. So just gonna go down here a little bit more. It's kind of hilly, get a little speed into it. Couple dips. No, it actually feels pretty good. No difference. Still nice and smooth, nice good ride like we had before. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and head back to the house, and I'll pick you up once we get back there, so stay tuned. All right, we're back. I took one corner on the way back, a little bit harder than what I normally would, just to see if I could get the body roll going, and it seemed very, very grounded. So I do believe the body roll, not that it was bad to begin with, but I do believe it's improved now with just normal driving, so that's a plus. And again, it didn't seem to be any rougher going over any bumps or anything like that, so I think that's a win so far. All right, so we're gonna do this in reverse order. I still have the tractor on the trailer because I didn't want to unload it and load it multiple times. So we're gonna check our total drop right now and see where that's at. Then we'll go out and go for a test ride. Then we'll come back and unload the tractor and see how much it comes up with the just the trailer weight on there. So I'm going to go ahead and raise the jack up, and we will see where we're at here. So remember, before we were at 7 inches of total drop. So let's see where we're at right now. All right, so that's it right there. So let's go ahead and take a look up close and see where we're at. So we're gonna call that about, I don't know, 5 1/4, 5 3/8, somewhere in there. So, and we were at 7 before, so I mean, that's good. And plus, remember, our starting ride height was actually 2 inches higher, so that means the bottom of our hitch is actually started 2 inches higher than it was before, so we're actually in a lot better shape than we were. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this hooked up. We'll take a picture from farther away just to see what it looks like, and we'll go ahead and go on a test drive and see where we're at. So stay tuned. All right, I just thought I'd show you guys what it actually looks like loaded up here. The truck actually looks like it's sitting pretty level right now as compared to before. I'm going to go ahead and insert a side-by-side before and after here so you can see what it looks like. And now we'll go ahead and load up and go for a test drive and see how she is on the road. So bear with me and I'll jump in the truck. All right, here we go. I mean, already from the start, I don't feel as much like I'm sitting down in a hole like I was before, you know, with the butt end sitting down. So, all right, let's go. First impressions, just with the little bit we're going here, feels pretty solid. Doesn't really feel like there's any porpoising going on. Haven't really hit any bumps or anything like that, but it does feel a lot more solid than it just did a few minutes ago. Just even going down this road, I felt a little bit of like, you know, like a wave going on, right? Whereas now it's a lot more solid. Not quite like you're unloaded, but a lot better than it was. I mean, to me, this feels like how the trailer would feel if it was appropriately loaded, you know what I mean? As opposed to having so much tongue weight that you didn't know it was, you know, wasn't a normal situation. All right, so now we're going down the bumpy portion of the road here. Yeah, definite difference. I'm feeling the bumps, of course, but it's not bobbing up and down and up and down and up and down like it was before. It's a lot more reactive as opposed to lazy, I would say, if that makes any sense. So that's a good news here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn around and we'll take it out on the highway and we'll see how that responds. So 1 second. So actually, before we get it out on the highway, we're gonna take it up to 55 here on these back roads and just cruise a little bit with some corners and stuff coming around here and see how that feels. Got no sway. Not really much bounce. It's running pretty smooth. I don't feel like, you know, the butt end dropping way down and the front end coming up kind of like I would have before. So I'm actually going, well, 60 here now. First impressions are good. Granted, this is just a small test on the road, but again, this is going to be an abnormal situation for the way I have this set up here. So, yeah, it's looking good so far. I'm looking forward to testing this with my sled trailer, with you know, my boat and things like that. All right, I'll go ahead and cut you off here, and then we'll get ourselves going on the highway. So 1 second. All right, here we go. We're on the on-ramp. Trying to get her up to highway speed. I know a lot of times with this trailer, I'd feel some jerking back and forth if I was doing it, going on this ramp here. Feel it a little bit, but not as much as I would have. Here we go. All right, we're up to we're actually beyond highway speed. Didn't feel like it, but here we are. Actually feels really good. Feels really solid. Doesn't feel like it wants to sway on me. Not very much bouncing. It's just pulling. So I'd say this is a win. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and head on back to the house here now. Oops, saw that Jeep swerving in front of me. I'm gonna go ahead and head on back to the house now, and then we'll see what the sag was when we unload the tractor. So stay tuned, and I'll bring you back once we get there. All right, so now I'm going to back the tractor off and see how much that trailer comes up with no tractor on there and just the weight of the trailer here. So I've got the tape measure zeroed out at 7 inches basically right there. So we'll see from 7 inches how far up we rise. So I'm gonna go ahead and back off the tractor, and we'll see where we're at. All right, when you zoom in here, it came up to about a little under 1.5, or a little over 1.5 and 1 3/8 maybe. So roughly it came up 5.5 inches versus the 6+ it did before. So not a huge difference there, but still less sag than we had before. All right, so now let's go ahead and unhook our unlatch our pin here, and we'll see how much we come up with just the weight of the trailer, or with the weight of the trailer off. So stay tuned, and I'll set you up there and we can watch that. All right, here we go. latch is a little goofy here, so bear with me. All right, I got it to pop off camera. Okay, so we're up. There's no more weight on the hitch, and we're up to a 1/2 inch. So we went from 1.5 up to a 1/2, so basically 1 inch. So that's about the same. Okay, so tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and drop this back down, and we're gonna go ahead and go for a ride with the trailer unloaded and see how that feels. So just give me a second and I'll bring you back when we're in the truck. All right, the last test. That trailer unloaded. Weighs about 3,400 pounds, I believe. So we'll see how that feels just coming down the road unloaded. And again, it has a decent amount of tongue weight because it is so long in the front. So before I could feel it. So now right away I'm noticing that the back end does feel like it's up higher than when I'd normally be towing this. And even unloaded, I would feel like some dipping, some porpoising a little bit. But I'm not really feeling that right now. Again, going on the smooth portion of the road, but we'll see what happens when we get up here and turn down the bumpy portion. All right, here we come into the bumpy portion. There, I purposely hit that little dip there with a little bit of speed, and I didn't feel the back end drop down at all. So it's holding the back end much more firmly than prior. And I'm not feeling, I mean, I feel the trailer, but I don't feel it moving the back end up and down as much as it had before. So I think this is a big win here. All right, I'll go ahead and I'll do the highway test again, so I'll bring you back when I'm doing that. All right, here we go, getting on the highway. So I'm noticing, just like hitting like dips in the road and things like that, I'm getting a lot less feedback from this trailer now compared to before. Now that's in a good way, meaning that the trailer isn't letting me know about the dips as much, whereas it was making me, you know, I kept saying porpoising, right? Kept making me do that. I'm not feeling that as much. The ride is much smoother, less jerky. So I'm impressed with this thing so far. So we'll see see how it works on some longer trips, getting some different situations. But for right now, I think we're in pretty good shape. So I'll bring you back one more time when we get back to the house here. So stay tuned. All right, folks, that'll do it for today. I hope you all learned something by watching me install that there. If there's anything you think I should test differently, why don't you give me a shout out in the comments and tell me what you think I should do. Other than that, I'll continue using this thing, and maybe I'll bring you back for a different video later on, you know, long-term review, just to see how it's going. So until the next one, signing off.